I absolutely plummet into my bed and I cannot get out. Couldn't get my head up off the pillow. So sick. Proper thumping. Blah, blah. I know that feels so silly, but it's really true. It did help. Hit me like a ton of bricks. This feels weird. It's so strange to be back. But here I am, I'm back, and I'm so sorry for the amount of time that I have missed. It has been a crucial, absolutely crucial time for me to take off the last few months since the last time I posted, for many reasons. One that you now know is because I am pregnant. I am currently about 19 to 20 weeks. I sound further along. 19 to 20 weeks pregnant with baby number 3, and it has been a rough journey for many reasons really, but I'll get into that a little bit later for you guys. But first of all, if you're new here, hello, my name is Mia. You are so welcome here in my home. I'm passionate about motherhood and homemaking, and I like to share my life with you here in that realm. So thank you for being here, and let's jump into this video. I am going to do a bit of a first trimester recap on this video, but I just want to preface by saying that the first part, which you guys will now know, the first part of the journey with this baby started off with a previous baby, and I had a miscarriage. I have shared the video with you guys. I don't want to share too many details because it's still quite sensitive and it's still quite raw, as many of you know who have had miscarriages. But I'm just really glad that this pregnancy has been successful so far, following on from the miscarriage that we had back in January, February time. So like I said, currently I am about 19 to 20 weeks-ish. I feel like when you have more children, the time goes a lot faster and you're not quite as aware where you are, where you're at. I feel like I could be hitting the 20-week mark, maybe even pushing on 21, I could be 19. Honestly, I just need to track it a little bit more. But it has been so rough. Now, I'm very hesitant to say that because obviously following on from the miscarriage, that was a very sad experience. And so to get pregnant again before a missed period and have that be a thing that happened very fast is such a blessing. It's such a blessing, and I'm so glad and I'm so relieved to be pregnant again. And I'm really, really excited to meet this baby in October 2024. But the first trimester has been the worst I've ever experienced, ever. And I feel like I could say I've had some pretty rough pregnancies. The first trimester at least. Starting at where the first trimester started, so the beginning of the pregnancy, I started to feel a little bit sick, but my main symptom was extreme fatigue. Like so tired all the time that I would just fall asleep at the dinner table and at random, you know, if I'm playing with the kids on the floor, the next thing I know, I'm asleep on the floor. And so things like that. So I kind of had a feeling that I would be pregnant at that time, and it turns out I was. And then as soon as I found out a few days later, the sickness really started to hit. So maybe 4+5, I think I found out at 5 weeks. And it must have been about 6 weeks when the sickness really started to hit me like a ton of bricks. So as well as getting sickness, I was also getting strong headaches because of all the hormones that are pumping around, extreme fatigue, and I was also passing out quite a lot. And it turns out I had low blood pressure when I went to get checked by the midwife at my first appointment. I had low blood pressure, so that explains the kind of passing out and fainting and the kind of drama of that, because I was quite confused why that was happening. I don't really do that very often. That doesn't tend to happen to me. So when I first started to become really sick, thankfully, my sister-in-law has lots and lots of wisdom and advice to share, because she is also pregnant with her 3rd child and is also extremely, extremely sick. And she is probably a full trimester ahead of me-ish. And so I was kind of aware that she was sick before we were conceiving and then through the miscarriage. And I was sort of watching for tips and things because, like I said, I do get sick in the first trimester of pregnancy. I'm not one of those people that sails through it and feels normal, maybe even a little bit tired. I'm not one of those. I absolutely plummet into my bed and I cannot get out. So I was very aware that she was sick, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder if there are any tips that she has. I think this was one of the worst pregnancies for her as well. So she started off on some tablets called cyclazine. And so a few weeks into feeling really sick and unable to kind of cope. I mean, I had to go to bed straight away. I was barely functioning during the mornings with the children. Thankfully, my 2 children nap at the moment. My eldest is 2.5, my youngest is 1.5. So they still have an afternoon nap. And so they were down for a nap, and that is when I would just have to go to bed, and then my husband would step in when they woke up from their nap. He works from home, so he shifted his hours to like early in the morning to afternoon, and then he would take over the evening shift because I was just incapable. But I'm really aware that I'm so blessed to have been able to have him around during this time, because I truly do not know what I would have done. My children don't go to nursery, I don't have a nanny, I have family around, but they work. I can't just drop my kids off somewhere at the drop of a hat. So they're definitely my responsibility during the day, and to have my husband around and for him to shift his hours to make that work was just an absolute blessing of the highest, because as soon as I started to feel sick, I would just throw up everywhere, lots of physical sickness and feeling sick. Some people say that throwing up makes you feel better after. It did not for me. I still felt so bad. Couldn't get my head up off the pillow. So sick. After a few weeks of feeling like that, I decided to take my sister-in-law's advice and call the doctor and say, I need something for this because it's too strong. I have too many responsibilities and I'm going to need some help. So I did get onto the tablets called cyclazine. I was on those for about 2 weeks. They did nothing really. Like, I think for the first time I took them, it might have been like a placebo. And I felt like it was doing something, and then 24 hours later I just thought, no, this is not changing anything. I am still feeling so bad. And that was also the same as my sister-in-law. She then moved on to the next tablets called, can't remember, Profithumpsing, blah blah. I don't know what they're called. She moved on to those and they helped her a little bit. So a few weeks later, I also decided I just copied her basically, because I was actually really glad that I had someone to go. She's getting through it this way, so I'm going to just try that as well, because I just felt so alone and in the dark, not able to function, and needed someone to follow. So I took her the next tablets, called the doctor, and they helped a little bit. Not enough for me to get up and be functional during the day and be with the kids and maybe put some normal clothes on rather than pajamas. But it was like very basic. I still was having to go to bed in the afternoon. I just couldn't cope with life still. So now, about 2 weeks ago, I jumped on to the next tablets, which I actually have here. Well, I can pronounce them. Prochlorperazine, I don't know, prochlorperazine. So I've been taking these for a few weeks now, just as and when I need them. Now, as I say, I am 19 to 20 weeks, so I am over the hurdle of the first trimester. I'm into the second trimester. I started taking these in my second trimester because I was still feeling very sick. But over the last week or so, hence why I'm making this video, because I feel pretty much like a normal person-ish. Very tired normal person, but sort of like a normal person. And so these have been helping a ton, and my sister-in-law took these in her first trimester. She was quick to change tablets when she knew that they weren't working, which was very wise. I did not do that. And they did help her. Now, you can obviously only get these from the doctors. I'm in the UK, so I don't know what it's like in where you are, but for me, these were the ones that were working, and I just now take these as and when, which feels like an absolute dream, because I've just it's been such a rough few weeks, and I don't want to complain about it, but I just want to be honest. That's really why I have been away, because I just haven't been able to get past the normal function of the day, being, like caring for the kids I already have, cleaning the house. I've not even done I've wiped a few surfaces here and there when I've noticed, like dusting, hoovering. I hoovered our bedroom for the first time in weeks, the other day, and just even those sorts of functions have just not been happening. And that is okay. If you are in your first trimester and you are struggling, it is okay to struggle. It's probably a matter of just letting the weeks pass by and getting through it, and you will get through it. If you don't have any other children, you're in your first trimester and you are able to, rest as much as you can, because if you go on to have more children, it's a lot more difficult to do that. And I'm sure I didn't embrace the fact that I could rest quite a lot with my first baby. I did not rest because I thought I had to push through, and I did have capacity to rest, so I would recommend definitely resting. Let's actually move on to the other things, the practical things that helped me cope in this first trimester. Having children, even if you don't have any other children but you do have responsibilities and work and the like, here's how I made it work for me. Because you are surviving. I'm definitely surviving. I was speaking to a lady the other day in our church, and she didn't get any sickness in her pregnancies at all. And I was just like, it's nice. How does that feel? Because for me, it sucks. So something that actually really helps me, that I have used for so many years, because I get quite extreme travel sickness. So I use them in the car, and they're just travel bands, and they've got a little lump, and it sits on a pressure point. I'll try and link some down below. It sits on the pressure point on your wrist. It's one for each wrist. And supposedly it's supposed to help make you feel better. Now, I obviously wore these throughout the whole of my first trimester. I still felt very sick, but even knowing that I had them on, it felt like I was doing something. And I know that they helped me in my previous pregnancies with Caleb and with Mercy. They really did help, and they definitely helped me in the car with travel sickness. So I do think they are a good thing to use, not least for your own peace of mind that you're actually trying to do something, because sometimes that's all we need. We need to just feel like we're trying to do something to make ourselves feel better. So I would recommend getting some travel bands. They are really cheap. I'm pretty sure they're very cheap. I mean, I think I bought mine years ago. I need a water break. This beats any Stanley I've ever seen. Anyway, so definitely buying yourself some travel bands are going to be really useful. You can just shove them on. If you're hiding your pregnancy at work and things, you can kind of sit under sleeves and stuff, and so it's not that obvious. But they're definitely a thing to get. So obviously the thing that helped me the most was my tablet. So do feel like you can talk to your midwife and your doctor. Sometimes they're very strict, but I think it's worth pushing if you are feeling really, really sick. They've been, they're not unsafe. These ones are probably the most unsafe ones. I think these are the strongest you can get, but they just say take them as and when you need, and don't take them in your third trimester. So definitely don't do that, but they are strong and they do work. So if you are in need of tablets, just speak to a doctor, speak to a midwife. It's worth making the effort to go and talk to them and just say how much you really need some help, because they do want to help you. They're just aware that not all tablets have been tested on pregnant ladies. So they've worked for me. They've been safe so far. I feel the baby kick. The scans are looking all good. Obviously consult with your doctor and with your midwife personally before taking anything that you're unsure about. But these ones have definitely been a true godsend, literally. Thank the Lord for medicine. The next thing that really helped me was actually eating little and often. Now, even eating, the thought of eating would make me feel so sick, but I promise you that if you just put something in your mouth and eat it, it makes you feel better, even if for a few minutes, because your body is getting the nutrients from the food, whatever it is, even if it's pizza, crisps, whatever you're actually craving, crackers, fruit, whatever it is you're craving, try and have that. Try and eat something little and often, and you may throw it up, it doesn't matter, but you just need to keep consuming, and that's something that the midwives will tell you as well. And having as much water as possible. I really struggled to keep water down and food down, but it wasn't enough that I had to be hospitalized, thank the Lord. I just had to prove that I was passing urine. and that was kind of enough to keep me on the edge of not needing to go to hospital for lack of hydration. That's what they're really concerned about there. So trying to eat something even when you don't feel like it is really important, otherwise you might end up in hospital because you're not keeping anything down at all and you're not consuming anything, and that's when it's particularly dangerous. There is a word for that extreme sickness, hyper something, I can't quite remember. But you just need to be quite careful. So for your own health's sake, for the sake of not being hospitalised, if you can, take little bits of food here and there. Sorry, I'm going to turn this on silent. Oh, it's me, Mum. Sorry, Mum, not right now. Take food little and often and water little and often, and that's just going to stop you from basically going to hospital. I'm on the extreme end here. I am really talking about the extreme end of sickness. So if you're nowhere near that point, good for you, embrace it, keep eating. You probably still feel quite rubbish, so eat anyway, drink anyway, and don't worry too much about what it is you're consuming. Just eat and make sure you're having something in your body. Obviously the more nutrients the better, but hey ho. On the topic of nutrients, I recently switched over, recently being yesterday, went to a local farm and bought some raw milk. I'm so excited. Why have I never done this before? It tastes so good, so thick, so creamy. The kids love it. They seem to have enjoyed it. Full of nutrients. Oh, it's amazing. I don't think I'll ever look back, but that's on another topic. I felt safe enough to have it switch over during pregnancy. It's different where in the different areas this farm was particularly safe, and we spoke about it and talked about what they do and what they don't do, and they temperature control it and da-da-da-da-da, and it seemed safe enough for me to switch over. So I did that, and that was very exciting. Oh my goodness, I feel like trad wife life. Okay, so as well as eating a little and often, something that helped me was just not going in the car. Because if I went in the car, I would just throw up, and it made things so much worse. And so I did become a little bit of a hermit. I didn't really go anywhere. I was a hermit anyway because I was in bed for so long, but particularly on the latter few weeks when I started to feel better, I just avoided things that I knew would make me feel worse. So I knew being in the car would make me feel worse. However, I knew even as much as I didn't want to, getting outside made me feel better. So that is another tip. Get some form of vitamin D, some outside time, even if it's an open the door and a quick breath of fresh air. It really does help. I'll open a window. There are times I would just stick my head out of the window just to try and feel a little bit of fresh air. And worst came to worst, it was just me in bed with a window cracked open, even though it was cold. It's just getting that fresh air into your system, into your body, making you feel a little bit more normal and less like a rotting vegetable, because that's what I felt like a lot of the time. So getting some fresh air is really going to help. I know that feels so silly, but it's really true. It did help. And obviously just taking help. If someone's going to offer you help, just take it. If someone wants to take your kids to the park, if your husband says he'll do the night shift on the baby that still wakes up if you have one, or whatever it is, he can cook. It's a season. I love cooking, so I like to be the chef in our house, but my husband is a very good cook, thankfully, so he made the food during the first trimester, and sometimes just making it really easy for yourselves. We had lots of like tortellini, the packet pasta that you can just throw in and it boils really, really quick. Like literally anything, beans on toast, jacket potatoes, just simple food that you don't have to think about. I managed a couple of slow cooker meals, but no, did not enjoy the smell or anything like that. So you can put your slow cooker outside or in a conservatory or in a separate space in your house if you have one. We don't really have one here, so it just had to sit in the kitchen. Making it really easy for yourself. Freezer meals, we got a couple of people to drop off food for us. Just like accepting help. If my mum was coming over, she would say, do you need anything from the shops? And normally I'd be like, oh no, I'm fine, I'll just go later, I'll go tomorrow. But like, I just say, yes, absolutely, I need this, and this. Can you bring it ASAP? And just not being afraid to ask for help and being vulnerable, because it is a vulnerable season of life, and we need help. And we need community, and yeah. If you're not a part of a community or you go to church online or something like that, I would recommend just getting stuck into your local church as much as possible, not least for biblical reasons, but for community's sake and having people around you that really care. We live in a small town, and I know there are people down the road, up the road there, and round the corner there, and down the road there that I can just call on if I absolutely need to. And so that's a really important part of my life, and I would recommend that as well. But this time is really just about, for me, it was a time of survival. And so my kids don't watch TV really. I think it makes their behaviour a lot worse. But during this first trimester, they've been watching TV, especially during those first few weeks when I was extremely sick. We would just put on some nice films or some music or some nursery rhymes or something, just for them to feel occupied enough to take the pressure off me having to be up and down and sorting them out lots and lots, which obviously I had to do, and I did do it, but it just takes the edge of having to do it so much because they are a lot more distracted. So just give yourself that grace. Do what you need to get through these last few weeks. They've not watched TV in a good month now, so you can just switch over as and when you need to, do what works best for your family. Another one for me was getting them outside and getting them really tired in time for their nap, so that they would nap a lot, and I'm going to have a good few hours where I could just plonk my head down onto a pillow and pretend that I don't exist. That was quite dramatic. And obviously having easy food for your kids, like I said earlier, like easy snack plates. I did. Snack plates consisted of lunch like apples, cheese, tomatoes, maybe a bit of bread and butter, like very basic stuff that would fill them up, and it's got some food category in there, just to make sure that they're full, happy and fed, and that was enough for me to get by. I didn't need to make anything fancy. I didn't need to think about organic ingredients or faffy ingredients or making things from scratch. It was just a matter of survival. So I just encourage you to relieve the pressure from yourself and just enjoy having a simple outlook on things for a while. If you're in your first trimester, congratulations. I'm so pleased to hear that you're pregnant, and if you're trying to conceive, then I do pray that that happens for you in the Lord's timing and the Lord's will. I'm so glad to be back with you guys. I really am sorry for spending so many months away. I am back and I am committed to sharing. I'm aiming to share every Wednesday. I'm really pleased to be with you guys again. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I hope to share more pregnancy things. If you'd like to know more about the miscarriage, then do ask me questions down below in the comments, and I will maybe make a video on answering those questions for you, because miscarriage is a real thing and it happens to so many women and it's unspoken about, and we need to shed light on it because it's extremely painful, and we tend to, as mothers, go through this alone. The thing that actually helped me recover from the miscarriage that I just had was actually talking to people and telling people about it, and not feeling like it's a thing to hide away, so that I'm not alone in this. You're not alone if you're going through a tough time. I'm glad you're here. Please don't forget to subscribe. It's going to help this small channel to grow and to build more of a community of mothers around there. So I'm glad you're here. I love you guys lots, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.